When was the last time you actually felt confident about what your teenager was doing or how they were feeling? Not what they told you, not what the school said, but just having that proper instinct that knew exactly what they're going through. Most parents often miss the early signs, and it's not because you don't care, it's because we're just missing the signs. There are so many skills which comes to being a parent to have their awareness and instinct, but sometimes it's a bit harder to manage because they're going through so much identity change. I've been coaching teenagers for over 12 years, and in this video, I'm going to show you 5 most common things that teenagers are going through that you may miss. By the end, you'll know exactly what to do and what to say by the time your teenager comes around through these challenges of being withdrawn, isolated, angry, irritable, and of course, just not knowing what to do next. My name is Jordan. I've been coaching teenagers for over 12 years, and throughout that time, I've worked with teenagers who are competing in the Olympic Games to teenagers who are just struggling to get through school, who don't know what to do the next day and what they really want to do in life. Parenting teenagers has got to be one of the hardest things you can do. And one of the biggest, most challenging parts is number 1, being withdrawn and isolated. Because this means that you don't even know what's happening. They sit in the room a lot, they're constantly on their phone, and you just don't really know what to do. Like, it's normal to be able for a teenager to start pulling away at a certain point because they want to become independent. But when they start being withdrawn and they don't let you in at all, that's when things start to get challenging and a little bit worrying. Some of the main signs you need to be aware of are things like sitting in the room all day, not coming to family dinner, or everything just saying like, okay, or when they stop seeing their friends or start making plans, which are very different to being independent. Where independent is saying, I'm going to handle this. It's still hanging out with friends and spending more time outside of the house. And also that feeling you have when they say, I've got this. Now, the thing is, when a teenager starts to feel withdrawn and isolated, it's really about you. It's more so about what they're going through. Sometimes I feel like they don't have the confidence or to express their own thoughts and their feelings. A lot of the time it's simply saying, I'm going through this hard thing and I feel vulnerable about it and insecure, and I don't want people to see me as weak. So a good way you can make sure that you actually get them to feel like they can open up and share and you can actually get through to them is by just being in their presence a bit more often. You don't need to ask all these big questions and start pushing and prodding, but more so about just being in the same room. When you can spend more time in proximity to them, whether it's on a car drive or whether it's going for a walk or something like that, walking the dogs together, that's a great way to make sure that they feel supported without you having to say something. When they're ready, they'll open up, but they just want to feel like they're supported, not to have everything fixed for them. That will come later. Sign number 2 is big changes in their sleep or their eating. Now, one of the biggest challenges I find with teenagers is the fact that they just don't know how to find a sleep routine. Some will go to sleep really, really late and try to wake up at 10, 12 o'clock every day. But the most important thing is that they have like a strong sleeping routine, because when they lose their sleeping routine, you find the majority of their problems will start occurring when that happens. Now, for a lot of teenagers, they love to stay up late, they love to play games, they like to spend time on their phone doing Snapchat, things like that. But it's really important that we make sure that they get a good sleep routine. When we talk about sleep routine, it's really important that they have good sleep hygiene. Now, what that means is limited electronics before bed. And what I think is the best rule that you can bring for your teenager is by taking their phone outside of their bedroom, having a no phone routine at home, especially when they're going to sleep. The other thing I think is really important is also when it comes to eating. When a teenager starts withdrawing and not feeling hungry all the time, that's when things start to feel a bit worse too. They start to withdraw away. So it's really important that we find that we can able to help them to feed, eat regularly, because when we start doing that, that's when they start to feel a bit more stable mood, and they're not going to have those big exhausted spells followed by big spikes of energy. If you want to check in, you can say something like, it seems like you're really tired recently. Have you been eating well? Is there something that we can do for you to make sure that you eat your food? I wouldn't comment on it directly. I'd more just talk about how we can help support you during these times. Sign number 3, their grades or their motivation has dropped off suddenly. Now, for a lot of teenagers, it's very normal to go through transitions where they'll play a sport for a couple of months or a couple of years, and eventually they start just kind of coming away from it, losing that motivation. That's okay, that's normal, and that's just interest changing a lot of the time. But when it's like a sudden drop off, like everything they do is like completely changes from, today to tomorrow, that's something that we need to look further into. Because when it comes to this motivational drop, there's usually something which has kind of triggered it or brought about it. And something that's usually sitting in their mindset a lot of the time. It's not so much about friends and things like that, which is more of a slow burner. But sometimes it's to do with the fact that they just really are lacking this confidence, massive anxiety, things like that. Now we're going to follow the same principles before. I don't want you to talk directly about what's happening. I want you to kind of talk around it, and then we can kind of ask questions which lead into the topic without directly saying it. So we can say something like, oh, you seem really keen on soccer. I'm shocked that you suddenly want to drop out. I'm not worried about soccer. I'm more worried about what's going on with you. That way we're taking the emphasis away from the sport or the grades, and we start saying that, the most important thing to me is actually how you're going, not so much about the sport. When we start to go into it, maybe they start opening up about their friends at the sport, or the way that they just don't feel that motivated to do anything at school. There's so many different things which could come from that. But it's more important that you start putting the emphasis on the fact that you care about them more so than what's happening at school or the sport. Number 4, increased irritability or big emotional outbursts. Now, it comes with being a teenager, there's always going to be some kind of massive outburst because quite frankly, there's so many hormones, emotions, stress happening that sometimes they don't know how to handle it because for starters, they've never experienced it before and they haven't built the skills to be able to handle it. But also sometimes things just feel too much and they don't know how to explain it. A lot of the time teenagers actually want to be able to say the thing to you. Now for me, a lot of teenagers open up to me because quite frankly, I'm distant from the family. I'm kind of the person on the outside who will listen to them, to feel like I'm not judging them, and they're able to open up and kind of share that load and go home and then spend quality time with you as a parent. So the thing is though, when it comes to this, they're not going to unload on me all these big emotional outbursts. They happen with you because they feel much safer with you as a parent. The pros and cons of being a parent can fluctuate from time to time. But the thing is, when you're that emotional safety net for them, sometimes it means that they're going to have these massive outbursts. It's not saying that like, I hate you and I want to, you to go away. It's more saying there's something I'm really struggling with right now and I want you to be able to speak to me about it. But I feel like I can't do that right now. So sometimes speaking to someone who's a bit further away, like a mentor like myself, means that I can actually handle a lot of those conversations. So that means that they're not going to have those big outbursts with you because I'm someone who is trained and knows how to be able to have these conversations, and that helps lighten the load for them so they can go home and, like I said, spend more quality time with you. It's pretty hard to deal with, but when you're going through that stage as a teenager where identity is really important, it's important not to be someone who is struggling and everyone on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok is doing really well. Sometimes these big emotions can build up and they say, what am I doing in my life? Why am I so caught behind everyone else and why is everyone else having success? There's so many different things which come within it, but I want you to make sure that when these things happen, we don't try and fix them in the moment. We just let them validate the fact that they have these big emotions and they feel overwhelmed. And then when we let them simmer a little bit and settle down, then we can have these conversations. Number 5, they're making comments that sound like they're worthless or things just aren't worth their time. Now, this is obviously a really tough one to hear because we don't ever want to hear that a kid is feeling worthless or not feeling like they're very good at all. We know that they're special, we know that they're an individual, but sometimes it's hard for them to see that. I find it's most common usually when they are trying hard at something, failing often, and not feeling like they're as good as everyone else. Because every teenager wants to be good at something, but when they start off at something, they're rarely good at it because it's something they're new to it. The most important thing that we can start to do is reframe the fact that it's not about being really good at it, it's about pushing ourselves. Because the person who struggles the most will become the strongest. And the more adversity we can face during these hard times, the more we can handle that and learn how to move through it, the stronger they're going to become as a person. So it's important to change the way that they're saying these things. So it's not the fact that they're bad at it, it's the fact that they're building strength, and that strength's going to come at a better time. When they feel like they're saying things like, I'm not worth this, be like, oh, sorry, I don't understand what that means. Can you please tell me more about what's worthless? Sometimes just them saying something that doesn't make sense back to you is enough for them to realize that what they're saying isn't really true at all. It's sitting up in their mind and they're thinking it, but it doesn't really make sense. All you need to do is nod, be like, okay, I understand. But then they go, you know what? This actually sounded really silly in my mind, and so I'm not going to feel it as much as before. And enough of these conversations, enough of these times you can help support them, be with them, listen to them, is when they're going to start feeling like they have worth and feeling like, you know what, it's not about being really good at something. It's about applying myself and just trying my best. The most important thing though is that if you ever feel like your teenager is going through a crisis, it is really important that you help them understand who to contact if you're not going to be able to be the one to speak to them. Whether it's a psychologist, a GP, a lifeline, things like that, that's really important that you actually understand how they can get they can understand how they can get in contact with someone that is going to be more skilled in these scenarios. Now, I know these situations can be really tough, but I want to take this as like a moment of compassion. This is also your first time handling these kind of things. These are not situations which are easy on anyone, especially when you are so emotionally captivated by your teenager. There are so many things decisions you're going to make as a person, which are going to be mistakes, which are not going to be the right move, which sometimes there isn't a right move. Sometimes everything you do is going to feel like it's actually happening, that's going to make it worse. But I can guarantee the thing that's going to make the biggest difference is more to do with your intention rather than the action. The actions are going to be hard to do at times, and sometimes you're going to feel lost, like I can't really do an action because it's only going to make things worse. But just being in the right environment, sitting there with your teenager, feeling like you're holding their troubles and their pressures and just showing the empathy is going to just help lighten the load a little bit for them. Because sometimes when things just feel so heavy, they just need someone to take a little bit of the load for them. And when they do that, then things start to create momentum and they start to make changes. If you really want to make a change about how we can help make some big difference in their life, you should join our free parenting group, Purposeful Parents, to help build the skills and help you to understand how we can make those changes within your life to help them. There's a free challenge in there right now, 21 days to reduce screen time and to help bring some calm to the chaos of a household. The fact that you're watching this video shows that you already care so much about your teenager, and I want you to make sure that this is already on the right track right now. So keep learning, keep watching, stay subscribed, and let's keep working towards building the family that you want.